Okay, welcome back to another vid. This is going to be a quick pickups vid. I say quick, it could be an hour long. It's not gonna. It's going to be around about 10 minutes. No more than 15, guaranteed, but probably around about 10-ish. No promises. You'll know before I do. How weird's that? You can see how long the video is. I'm going to guess at 10 minutes, but we'll see. So I've got altogether 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, I think that's 8 altogether. Games for 4, 5 maybe different systems, so a bit of kind of eclecticism is going on here, a bit of variation, which is good. With that said, I don't mind when people buy for one specific system, doesn't bother me. I just like watching people talk about what they bought and why they bought it. Unless they're just buying rubbish, and then that can get a little bit tiresome, but rubbish is subjective, isn't it? You might think all of these are rubbish and you'd be wrong, because only some of them are. No, I like them all, obviously, otherwise I wouldn't have bought them. But naturally, we've all got different opinions. First game that I bought, I just had this real desire to play not just this game, but also the one after it, which is the 4th in the series. The one I've got here is the 3rd. Now, I've not yet stuck it on, only arrived the other day. But I'm going to put it on soon, maybe even later today, sometime this week, whenever. But it's Project Gotham Racing 3 on the Xbox 360. Now, in my opinion, the 4th game is the best. It's the better of the games. I still think it looks good. I think it plays well. I like the soundtrack, all that kind of stuff. But the 3rd one's a good one as well, so I'm really pleased to get this, and it was cheap. It was $2. $2, just absolutely ridiculous. And when I buy games like this, and there's a couple of others that I'm going to show in a second, in fact, all of them, apart from one, was pretty cheap, or maybe two. One was pretty pricey. But, when I get a game that I really want for $2, $3, $5, whatever it is, pence, basically, it sometimes makes me question why I persevere with things like the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4, where games, $50, $60 when they come out. Now, I know if you wait, you can save a bit of money, a lot of money sometimes. In fact, if you just wait a week or two, after a game's been released, you can potentially save 10, 15, 20 quid, or dollars or whatever it is. So that's a great way to save money, but it's kind of silly how the prices come down. So, but yeah, when you get games this cheap, it makes me think, do you know what? I'm gonna scale back the old the PS4 and the Xbox One, even though I've bought an Xbox One game here, and only buy them when the price is pretty cheap. And I think that joking aside is what I'm gonna do now. I mean, unless it's a game I really, really want and I know I'm gonna play it, then fine, I'll pay the $50, I'll pay the $60. But generally speaking, I think I'm just going to wait. I waited for one of these games, and I didn't pay $60 for it. It was around about $15. So again, it just goes to show. I might be, a year and a half, 2 years late to the party, but does it really matter if you save as much as $40, $50? I don't really think it does. So, yeah, not really talked about this game, have I? Yeah, really good game, driving game. I wish they'd bring back the series of Project Gotham, but I think, isn't it, who makes it? Bizarre Creations, aren't those the ones who went bust, went bankrupt, or bought out, or whatever it was? So unless, the rights, if you like, were sold to another developer, then I don't think we're going to get another one of these games anytime soon. And one, also Bizarre Creations behind Blur, which is a gameplay I've got on my channel from 3-4 years ago on the 360. That's a brilliant game. You've got to check Blur out. It's really, really good. So that's that. Now, speaking of cheap games, this was $1. It is for the Genesis, and you'll know through nostalgia, here we go again, I love PAL and all that kind of stuff, but I will buy American games as and when, and especially if they're $1. Now, it's a game I've never played. I'm aware of it, more than aware of it. I had friends who had it back in the day. I say I've never played it. Maybe I did play it, back in like the early to mid-90s. It came out in around about 94. I can't see the date on the back. 93, 94. It's Sonic Spinball. And, come in these kind of red-spined Genesis cases. I prefer blue, not just because of Blue Tonic. I just prefer the colour blue. But and I prefer the name Mega Drive Genesis. I don't think I'll ever wrap my head around that. But yeah, I'm really, really glad to get it. And for $1, you can't really go wrong, can you? So that's that. And you don't want to see inside, but I'm going to show you because it's boxed and complete. Who cares? Now, 2 games for the PlayStation 3. It's kind of funny, really, because one of these. In fact, let's show that one first. One of these, this is only $4, by the way, and I picked it up obviously with the intention of playing it, but the more I think about it, I'm not sure if I should play this version or play the PlayStation 4 version. Obviously it'll be a little bit more expensive, but it may be the better experience, and maybe you guys, if you've played both versions, maybe you're the better judge right now over me, who's still never played this game. And it's, like I say, it's on the PlayStation 3, and it's The Last of Us. So, a very well-regarded, critically acclaimed game, and it looks great. I know what it's about, I almost, not quite, but I think I know the ending, just because someone said it once upon a time. It's not going to stop me playing the game. It's not going to spoil it for me. So I'm not going to reveal any spoilers or anything. I will still play it. Oh, I like that when you open it up. It's got these little shiny stickers. I don't know what I'm going to do with them other than keep them in the box. But that's that. So, yeah, really pleased to get it. But the PlayStation 4 version, it looks that little bit better. It's been upgraded. It's probably the PS4 version going to be the better experience. So, I'm not sure. Maybe I could start it and then finish it on the PlayStation. We'll see. But for, $4, I think that's what it was anyway. That's a really good price. And for the same price, technically speaking, a few cents cheaper, I've got Rage, again, on the PlayStation 3. A game which is made by Bethesda. So think of Oblivion. Did they do Oblivion and Skyrim? Did they also do Doom? I guess they do. ID. Is ID the same as Bethesda? See, I know nothing about games. I'm just conning everyone. Been conning you for years. But no, joking aside, I don't really know anything about the industry, but I know I play games. I like playing games, and always have. But in terms of the industry and developers, honestly, the knowledge, whoosh, over my head. I haven't got a clue. Now, we did have this going back when it came out, or not long after it came out, but typically back then, and it makes me laugh actually, because you can probably, oh, it's on that side, you can see all the PlayStation 3 games, and that's double stacked, and there's even more in those little two pull-out draw things. It's crazy. It's crazy. I've got a lot of PlayStation 3 games. But I did have this one, going back a few years. Whether it was on the PS3 or the 360, I honestly can't remember. But I only played it for a short amount of time because I had so many games. If it was on a PlayStation 3 and I didn't get round to it, well, that is probably the reason why I didn't get round to it. And probably is the reason why I'm not going to get round to it for ages now as well. Because there's just too many. But they're so cheap. PlayStation 3 games and 360 games are so cheap. It's ridiculous. Now, I've got a game on the Xbox One. Apologies if I've shown this before. So I'm just going to have a swig of drink. And a cough. Even though technically the swig of drink should have prevented me from coughing. So yeah, apologies if I've shown this game before. I don't think I have. I've had it for some time. But when I was looking at a few of the games to show on this video, I thought to myself, have I put this one on a pickup vid? I'm not sure if I have. It's a Legendary Edition, it's on the Xbox One, and it's Rise, Son of Rome. The graphics are really, really good, and of course the grey kind of spines, which I've said many times before, I've got a very much a love-hate relationship with these. I love the uniformity, but at times they can look bland. Depends what day it is. Ask me today, I quite like them. Ask me tomorrow, I'll hate them. That's how it works with me. But yeah, a decent game. What it does have, or my experience with it so far, is quite a few quick-time events. I'm not a massive fan of those. In fact, usually I detest them. But it works quite well in this, and for me it doesn't detract from the experience. So I'm only about 20, 25 minutes, 30 minutes in, but I'm really liking it. I'm glad I didn't pay $50, $60 for it, mind, and paid 10, 15 instead, but that's that. Cue second cough. Now this is a weird one, and if you've got a long memory and have been watching my channel for a long time, there is one, at least one in particular, one system which I've always been, I wouldn't say critical about it, but I've always said I'd never get one. Now I still haven't got the system. I'm not sure if I will, but I've picked up a couple of games for it. And it's really weird because the system is the NES, the NES, the Nintendo Entertainment System. Now, I've always said I don't have any nostalgia for it, and that's the main reason why I've never been interested in buying for it, or playing it, or owning one. However, with that said, it's funny how sometimes you remember things, and this is going back quite about a year or so actually, and I've thought about it before, but I think when I was slagging this system off, I'd always forgot this memory I've got. And it's a very tenuous kind of link, but back in 1990, I really wanted, and I mean I was desperate to get the NES Turtles pack. And it's something which I haven't bought. I'm not going to show it now. I really want to get it. I almost bought one on eBay a few weeks back. I do think, I'll get it because when, it's just the way I am. When I get my mind fixed by something, when I'm onto something, I just want to get it. And I get it no matter what. So I do think I'm going to get the NES Turtles pack. But back in Christmas of 1990, I was desperate for one of those things. Turtles were all the rage. If you were around about my age, 11, 12 at the time, whatever, everybody wanted the Turtles. And I was no different as a 12-year-old. But I didn't get it. I think I chose, what did I get Christmas of 1990? Let me think, what faux pas did I make back then? Oh, 1990, it would have been the GX4000. The Amstrad GX4000, what a knobhead. Unbelievable. You live and learn, or sometimes clearly not. But yeah, no regrets. I liked it, it was good, and I wouldn't change a thing. I wouldn't change a thing. But it would have been nice to have had the NES. And I think the Christmas after that, I got my ST, I think. So I never got round to getting the NES. And I've watched people over the years, I'm not going to name drop everybody because there's a lot of people, but I've watched people pick up NES games, talk about them, really get into it, show gameplay games, and I've watched them, or for the most part, I've watched many of them, and I quite like them. But I've always thought, you know what, I'm not really interested. But the older I get, and the more nostalgic I get, I mean, I'm a very forward-thinking person as well. I'm really excited about the future and the present, all the rest of it. I'm not completely stuck in the past, but I am a very nostalgic person. And I think to myself, yeah, I'd like to get that NES and try and, you know, play the games that maybe I would have played had I have pressed ahead and got that NES back in 1990, which of course I didn't do. The long, protracted, drawn-out story there. But I've got 2 games for the NES. They're both in really good condition. One of them is kind of partially sealed, and I think that I'm glad that's the one that's sealed, because it could potentially, you know, be worth a fair few dollars or quid in the future. Now, the first game, I've not played them because I've not got the NES, so I can only go off gameplay footage on YouTube and memory from magazines, in particular the second one. But the first one is Ikari Warriors, a classic game, which I've not played this version, but I've played versions on pretty much every system that it came out on, whether it's 8-bit, 16-bit, or whatever it is. In fact, I think that's all there was, 8 and 16-bit. But yeah, really, really pleased to get this. I like the box. The box art's really nice. Very kind of silvery, very 80s. It just looks at you and screams 1980s, and so does the cover, with those guys with the old moustache going on there. At least one of them has a moustache anyway. It's just, that is cheesy, but it looks cool. I think it looks cool in a very cheesy way. So really, really pleased to get that. I'm not going to get the cart out. They're all boxed and complete and all that kind of caper. And then the next one up, the second one, is basically what I hinted at a second ago when I talked about the Turtles pack. It is Turtles, a game I was, like I say, I don't know how many times, desperate to get. I couldn't wait to get the NES Turtles pack, but of course I changed my mind at the last minute and got the GX4000. But I really, really wanted it, and Turtles is such a great thing, or was. I've not watched it for years, of course, but really pleased to get it. And when I look at the back screenshots, it reminds me, it's a real flashback memory. I must have went into like a Dixon's or a W.H. Smith's or John Menzies or Woolworth's or Comet, whatever it was back then. And I must have kind of picked this box up and looked at it because I've just got this flashback of holding this box like 20 odd years ago. So maybe it was, like I say, when I was thinking of getting one. And you can see the screen. That's the screenshot in particular, that one there, really, really takes me back. And I'm really pleased to get it. I like the side view, or the box art as well. So I can't say if I'm going to get into the NES. I may not. I'm going to grab the odd game here and there, I think, unless I get to a point where I think, no, it's not for me. And I've never had a problem in the past, you know, drawing a line under things. I'm not going to buy for stuff that I'm not interested in. I do very quickly, like I say, draw a line under the sand. I did it with the Jaguar, you know, all those years ago when I thought I was going to get into it. And I very quickly thought, no, not for me. Sold them. I didn't have many anyway. And I've not gone back to it since. There's no point. I'm not really into it. And also the Japanese N64. I had, ironically, 64 Japanese N64 games. And it quickly dawned on me that actually I'm not really into this anymore. The artwork's cool. They're very niche. I think I was the only person, or so it seemed. Probably wasn't, literally. But it seemed like I was the only person back then, 4 or 5 years ago, you know, with N64 Japanese games on their YouTube channel. So I had a nice niche little market of, a nice little corner of YouTube there. The videos used to get a lot of views. But for me, I just wasn't into it anymore. The language barrier was a major issue. I've got no interest in learning Japanese. It's not going to happen. Not interested. It's kind of a cool language and a cool country, but I'm not interested at all in learning Japanese. So Japanese games went. What's the point? Unless it's a game you can understand, you know, because if it's like a shooter or something, it's kind of obvious what to do there, or a football game or whatever. So yeah, I'm not sure if I'm going to get into the NES, but time will tell. But I can't lie, I am keeping a sneaky eye out for the NES Turtles pack that came out, I think, in the UK only. So it didn't come out in the States, so I'm going to have to import it. So it's going to be about 50 quid, give or take. And then last but not least is an American game for the Super Nintendo. You can see, I think you can see, some of my, well, in fact, all of my Super Nintendo games up there. Done it again with the reflected thing, back to front. There they are, these Super Nintendo games. And this is another one. It's not the most expensive one I've bought so far. It was around about $60-something, give or take. 60 to 70, including shipping, I guess. And also, I should say, I'm not sure how I feel about this, but I'll give you a bit of a sneak preview. No, it's going to be this way. I've got the old... Oh, it's turned... Oh, there it is. I've got the CRT, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure how I feel about having two televisions so close, you know, that proximity. It's handy, don't get me wrong. It's kind of almost within... It looks a lot closer. It really... I'm really going to... I'm not going to reach it from there, but it looks, you know, as if I can just touch it. In fact, it looks like I am touching it, but I'm not. But yeah, I've got the SNES underneath and the Genesis, and I'm not sure. The whole room has kind of moved around a little bit. It'll move around again. I've got things to move about. It's just here as a bit of a temporary stopgap. So if you think it looks rubbish, it may change. If you think it looks great, I may keep it. We'll see. But I'm genuinely not sure how I feel with that game there. And by the way, if you can see it, spoiler alert, it's Firepower 2000. And Firepower 2000 is basically, for all PAL viewers, which is 99% of people watching, I imagine, it's SWIV. It's basically SWIV, which came out on the Amiga, the ST, the Mega Drive, it came out as SWIV, and even the PAL versions of the Super Nintendo, it's known as Super SWIV. Was it on the 8-bit systems? I think it may have been. Commodore 64, Spectrum, Amstrad, all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, it's really hard. It is really, really hard. I'm struggling with it, but I'm enjoying it. And every time I play it, I get that little bit further. You know, that more experience, isn't it? The more you do anything, I guess, the better, the more comfortable you are with it. So, really good game. $60, $70. It wasn't cheap. That's around about 45 quid, 50 quid, give or take. But it's nice because it now brings my Super Nintendo collection, I think, to... It's either 13 or 14. So, kind of getting there. There's no wild ambitions. I'm absolutely not going for a full set or anything like that. I'm just picking games up as and when I like them. And if they look good, I may buy them and they may be rubbish. But if they look good, if they look interesting, then I'm going to give them a purchase. So, yeah, anyway, we've gone on a lot longer than the 10 minutes I thought it would be. So we'll wrap it up. There's the games if you want some side view going on there. So, yeah, really pleased to get all those. Whether you like them or not, I guess you'll soon let me know if you do or if you don't. But until my next vid, which should be sometime maybe next week, check out my Bournemouth vid. It's rough around the edges, but I want everybody watching on YouTube to start supporting AFC Bournemouth. They're my second team, and you've got to start supporting them. Little plug there. If you don't want to watch it, don't watch it. Do what you want. Your life. But yeah, until my next vid, whenever it is, probably going to be next week, or maybe later this week. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.